Michael Ansel started as a graphics designer for Ubisoft back in 1992, just before being propelled at the head of a video game project called Rayman. This little game was one of the first games ever created by Ubisoft and was released on the major gaming platforms at the time in 1995. Right after its release, Rayman was an unprecedented success and one of Ubisoft's first major title that still remains today a symbol for the company. Rayman was designed to be a challenging 2D platformer with stunning visuals and art style and a humoristic universe. Michael Ansel is also known as one of the creators of the Beyond Good and Evil IP and collaborated with Peter Jackson for the King Kong video game adaptation. As for Rayman, Michael's ambition has always been to entertain the player by providing a well-thought gameplay without taking things too seriously in terms of scenario.
Unmanageable. An utter loss of phase for the Magic Peoples, of course.
By the mid-90s, games were slowly shifting to 3D, and Michael decided it would be a good time to make his beloved IP stick with the trends. And so, in the early 2000s, two additional Rayman games came to be released, Rayman 2 The Great Escape and Rayman 3 Hoodlum Havoc. Both titles were critically acclaimed, graphically superb, and ridiculously funny. They ended up seducing a lot of players around the world as their dev budget increased. But after the Rayman trilogy had ended, Ubi decided to introduce new and hilarious fellows, the Raving Rabbids. And there started a long wait for the return of Rayman, set aside until the Raving Rabbids had made their time. These fellows were hilarious characters involved in very casual and stupid games made for the average gamer. Even if those dudes were really cute and funny, the overall experience of the games they took part in really wasn't that good, and I slowly started taking my distances with Ubisoft before they released something consistent again in the Rayman universe. Hopefully, almost 10 years after Rayman 3, Ubisoft finally ended up releasing Rayman Origins, and I couldn't have been happier. Rayman Origins went back to the IP's roots by putting the 3D aside and concentrating more on the original platforming aspects of the game. But instead of going back to its chic graphic style, Michael decided to build up a whole new game engine for his game, the UbiArt framework. Able to display and animate high-res 2D drawings with a never-before-seen quality, the UbiArt framework has been built especially for the Rayman franchise and suits the game perfectly. With vivid colors and extremely varied environments, the game safely remains one of the most beautiful 2D platformers there is, thanks to the exceptional work of its artists that made an awesome job imagining and designing the game. In a nutshell, there are 5 main worlds, each divided into 2 sections with completely different environments. The Fire and the Ice world, focused around the cooking theme. The Water and Underwater world. The Earth/Green Forest world. A musical world centered around the air element. And finally, a last and final environment set up in the clouds with a steampunk atmosphere. Gameplay-wise, the game is pretty good and delivers everything you might expect from a great platformer. Rayman's lack of responsiveness at times may annoy some of you, but it's just a minor detail. Controls remain simple, and Rayman can easily make a set of basic actions in the game. He can run, jump, punch, and aim. Combine those abilities to trigger special skills like power strikes, dashes, or other abilities you unlock in the game. There are also a lot of memorable shoot-them-up moments where you take control of a mosquito and just beat the hell out of any structure or flying creature crossing your path. But one of the game's greatest strengths is its co-op mode, open-world design, and challenges that will keep you playing for an extra amount of hours. In fact, what's amazing about Rayman Origins is that it can be a casual game and become pretty hard and vicious at the same time. While the average gamer may just want to complete the main levels without necessarily going to the end of the story, the hardcore gamer has all sorts of challenges he can get into. First, in each level, Rayman can collect a certain amount of lumps that will increase his final score. The score can be further increased by finding all the secret skull coins well hidden in the level. Second, an against the clock mode is unlocked after you've beaten any level, and trying to beat the levels as fast as you can becomes an entertaining speedrunning activity, where the player gets to discover every level again with a different point of view. Third, the co-op mode. Dang, it had been ages since I hadn't had that much fun on a local co-op PC game. Playing with a friend gives you more fighting power, but you can also split up your objectives to search and collect all the hidden coins or lumps faster. Of course, you can help each other out or beat the hell out of your friend, which is always a pretty enjoyable thing to do. And for the fourth and final gameplay element, special treasure chest modes become available in-game once you have collected enough lumps for each level. These special levels make you hunt down an extremely fast and agile running chest by chasing him while avoiding all sorts of vicious traps for a limited amount of time. They are one of the most annoying levels in the game to my mind, but they are the only way for you to access to the last and final act of the title. Ubisoft also just made another masterpiece game in terms of audio design, perfectly capturing every cute aspect of the lumps and little beings you have to rescue throughout the adventure. UB Studios imagined a set of amazing sequences where the player would just see lumps singing or other creatures humming while being idle. Along with that sound design stands an amazing background music and themes that make you feel part of an epic yet pretty tale-like adventure filled with marvel and fantasy. Concerning the story, the game does a pretty good job at keeping the player entertained rather by Rayman's quest to save all the little beings than the actual plot. Actually, there isn't any real plot apart from the fact that deadly creatures have escaped their underworld prison and are now claiming Rayman's beautiful world. The story ends up being a mere pretext for Rayman's crazy adventure, and it did a pretty good job. In a nutshell, the game can be pretty quickly finished if you just want to beat the levels without particularly collecting anything. You can count about 10 hours to do so. Otherwise, if you really want to get to the last level, you can easily add an extra 5 hours and another 5 to 10 hours more if you wish to beat every level at 100%. And that is what makes the game extremely enjoyable. The fact that you can play with a friend or not, and that you are free to go as far as you want. I still wish the controls were a little bit more reactive and that Ubisoft imagined a more engaging story. But for a polished and fun title, Rayman Origins clearly has all that it takes to be truly enjoyable and greatly entertaining. Boss fights are always unique and never repetitive, and all the abilities you learn throughout the levels come in handy. The game easily gets a 9 out of 10 for its exceptional art design plus amazing features. The only thing that holds it back from a perfect score would be Rayman's reactiveness, some annoying difficulty and checkpoint issues I encountered in some levels, and a lack of engaging story for the whole experience to be truly complete. But if you're a gamer that loves platformers, you can easily give Rayman Origins a perfect score given that it has everything it needs to be one of the best 2D platformers ever made.